This is the AI agent we built for one of our clients and deployed through SMS, email, live chat, and voice. Here's how the video will be structured. First, I'll go over the demo so that you can see how it works. Then we'll go into the business side of things. I'll share the contract details and how we got the client. After, we'll go into the agent setup so that you can replicate the same system yourself. Quick disclaimer, this is not the entire build that we did for the client because it has a lot of the different sub agents and workflows. If you want me to show you the full build with voice capabilities, it means talking to this agent through phone call, press the like button. If we get to 200 likes under this video, next week I will do that. This is the company website. As you can see, we have a phone number here and the live chat widget here. Again, I will blur a lot of the information throughout the video. I hope you understand. So the idea here is that most people are calling them directly because they're, even though they're serving nationwide, they have a subdomains for each state. So people are calling them for either customer support inquiries or the installation setup, aka booking appointments. So what we did is integrated the live chat to decrease the amount of calls that they are receiving, and then integrated the AI voice caller that is also handling the SMS that the user are sending. Currently, it is not deployed to this phone number because we're still testing. So they have a default message when you call the number. It says, hey, we're busy, please send us an SMS or contact a real live agent through the website. Once they send an SMS, they land to this agent. The same agent is also deployed through the email and the live chat. For the sake of this video, I want to only show you the live chat and the SMS. Basically, we're not gonna focus on the live chat for now. We'll say, hi, my name is Josh. I want to book an appointment. And what do you guys sell where? Something like that. Not focusing on the live chat, we'll jump into the SMS because it's more complicated on the SMS side, on the connection on the backend, so that I want you to have a full picture on how to do it. Because again, so the live chat is just a widget that is directly connected to the n8n agent. Again, don't worry, when we're gonna talk about the setup, I'll explain everything. As I said, it's operating through the knowledge base and through the instructions that we're providing on the API side to book an appointments. We're not going to continue here and will not answer the Alex question. So let's jump into the actual SMS. Let's compose a new one. Again, this is not the number that you can find here just because I don't want to leak any information out. And we can say, hi, my name is Julia. Let's actually hit send. Here's the new conversation. I can say, I want to book an appointment. Okay. Because the goal was to build a really conversational agent, we do not even have any scripts on how the agent should behave. We just have a finalized goal, and we give all the tools as well as the knowledge base to operate on top of. So I'm not sure what it's going to ask us and what step it's going to follow. So let's see what stuff sounds like very interesting. But making sure you have everything system, then we have, okay, so it needs to check us. So my email is julianeugene23@gmail.com. And let's look at April 23rd, something like that. So this is the calendar that we have, right? So April 23rd. We have not provided the time, so it should ask us for the time that we're looking for, as well as the time zone, because this is very important. So the client is actually operating on throughout like nationwide, as I said, so they have like multiple times. So different people are in different time zones. and we need to ask for a specific state to understand either they are in the Pacific, Eastern, or Central time before booking an appointment. But this, so our system is actually designed right now on the GMT +3, so it's the Minsk time. So let's provide it when the agent asks. Okay, so it says we've got you inside our system. We're all set to book your appointment. Here are the available slots. Okay, so it's actually giving us the available slots, but okay, so let's say that I am in Minsk. Can say Minsk. Can we check for what? For 6 p.m. Can you please check for 6 p.m. Okay. And by the way, if we go into the conversation history, you'll see that we have a guest visitor here and all the conversation that we did through the website. And we also have this conversation with the user. So if any of the agent want to tackle the conversation manually, or when we do the human handoff, so if I'm going to mention something like I want to talk to the real agent, in case the user understands that this is not a real human, or the query is actually the technical query and the client is not looking to book an appointment to schedule the visit to see, like to prepare for the installation, but rather needs to get fixed something, we're gonna transfer this to the actual human rep, and we're gonna assign it to one of the reps inside the company. So great news, we got the 3 p.m. slots available. The third means time zone, that's great. Just give you a heads up, I'll book it right away. Okay, works for you. There's another time you prefer. No, please book it. I am ready now. And by the way, if you watched any of my videos, you know that we never use emojis in our messages just because this is not the type of the human interaction, but they're specifically used here just to identify where the actual human and where the actual like bot is, because we're interfering the communication with their existing customer support team, because in the production version we are using the Twilio number, and this is how we are able to create a unified memory between text, voice, email, and live chat when we're having the same identifiers. And when it comes to SMS and voice callers, we need to have the same number, and we're using Twilio, and they're also using Twilio. So it's a bit of a confusion. Okay, so it says that our appointment has been booked. If we go back here, let's update it. Okay, so as you can see, the appointment has been booked. If we click, we'll see that this contact has been already created. So if we go to this contact, we'll see all the details. And that's why I said when we're doing the human handoff, because the contact is already created, or let's say if he has been created and we provided like the email here, it's gonna match the contact within our system and then do the human handoff. One very interesting feature also is because we're using the SMS, we're also using the phone number as identifier. So it says that, again, so I was just using it for the reference. That's why I was not like, I was providing the email, because you could say that, hey, this is like, you can use the same phone number, it should be in your system. And because this agent has the context about the within the input, it has the phone number that we're receiving SMS from, it will match this here. Now let's go into the business side of things, and then I will explain how everything is set up and connected together. We got this client through the cold outreach, and I think so the actual message was 5 months ago. We've been going back and forth for a few times. We developed them the prototype and the demo. So here you can see that we've been actually like, this is one very important hack or the tip that you guys can use. We are asking if they are the tech savvy, and I'll explain. They are tech savvy because they are using the n8n, and that's why we've been building this conversational agent on n8n and not the voice flow as we usually do. Again, stay till the end, I'll explain why. But basically the idea is that because they're tech savvy, instead of going through the meetings with them, with multi meetings at the very beginning. Once we created the first demo and the prototype, once they like it, we started to actually share a lot of the Loom videos, and we asked them to share the Loom videos back on the feedback that they have, because it's easier for me to manage, even because like I still manage all the most of the communications with our clients myself, and it's easier for me to share it with my team and not ask them to hop on infinite calls. So we're like going back and forth. These were the finalized things, and here you can see that. Great, thank you, Gene. Yes, let's start with the SMS one. So the SMS one was the very first iteration of the production agent that we built, just because, again, as I said, and that's why I'm like illustrating it here, the email is pretty straightforward because it's easier compared to the SMS, because like, for example, on the SMS or live chat, you need to receive multiple messages and then you need to reply the multiple messages. In the email, it's simple because you're like receiving the chunk of text, you're processing the chunk of text through your agent, and then you're providing the response back. And the voice should, like, voice is the most is the hardest one, but again, so the voice should be completed after the actual system is done, and it's just the problem is in the connections. Yeah, so that was kind of the final message before we started. That was, let me find our my proposal here. And by the way, I'm not sure which title I'm going to use, probably the $7,500 AI agent. And I'm using the 7.5 version because that was the actual deposit that we did, like, because the contract is $17,000 here. Now, if you look closely, again, sorry, like, I'm not sure which part of the things within this video I will blur. I'll see it in the post-production. The idea here is that this is, we're like still providing the range, even though here you can see $17,000, but throughout our communication, we discussed that it's probably going to be in the range of $15,000 to $20,000 on the actual total bill. This will take like multiple months, and we just finalized the version 2. But and it was like $7,500 was the actual deposit. That's why I'm using, but we always use range for the one-time setup fees as well as the monthly cost, as you can see here, because we are not sure how active people are going to be. They never used the actual live chat, right? So they never used the pre-built voice note that says that they need to actually send an SMS. And by the way, as I said, so when they are contacting this number right now, it's saying that, hey, please send us an SMS or the live chat widget. So we are not yet sure how many people will do the calls compared to the live chat or compared to the email, because everywhere in all of the resources we're saying that we're gonna respond to the email or the live chat within the first hour. What I'm saying is that yes, we have the data on how many calls this business receives, and calls are more expensive than the text communication on the talking usage. So we're not sure, because we need to give us the room of room in terms of the cost, because we don't want to say that the business that it's going to cost them $300 a month, and then all the people are going to like call the actual agent and going to talk with it for a while, and now it's going to be like $1,000, and now it's like a discrepancy between like what we said and what they expected and what actually happened. That's why we always give the actual tangible range here that they can plan for. Here's how the agent works on the backend. So we are receiving the customer request. So this is the actual message. It doesn't really matter what channel we're using. Then we identify what the actual channel is. And we because everything is built on top of the one prompt, this is the high level, right? So the one prompt is our version of the high level. You can use the high level. I'll explain how to do that. If you don't want to build everything from scratch, you can just use one prompt, because everything has been already built. So basically, we are connecting we're using the live chat widget from the high level, from the one prompt. We have the Twilio account that is connected to the one prompt. Okay, sorry, like I'm saying one prompt, but this is basically a high level. So we have the Twilio account connected there. And we also have the same Twilio account connected on the retail that we're using for the voice, but I don't want to touch the voice-based agent for now. Again, if we have the 200 likes, I'm gonna go over the entire setup. So everything, so all the communication channels go into one basically interface, which is the HighLevel. Then we're doing the processing to process all the messages that are incoming from the customer. Then we're sending all these messages that are grouped together to n8n agent, right? So here, we're sending it here, it's getting processed, and after it's getting processed, it's sent back to the one prompt because we need to identify, okay, so what is the actual channel that we received the message on. So if this is the SMS, it's going to go into the SMS channel here, and then it's going to display the actual reply to the user. As I said, in 90% of the cases for this type of the agents, we are using the voice flow. And for example, the voice flow recently added their agent step, which is basically the similar version of the agent step that the n8n has. But it's working similarly, but it just has like different functions tied together into one interface. And here you can see that we actually have a booking agent that has these same functions, right, that this n8n agent has. I'll explain what they are and how to build them. But basically, we would use that, and we would use our mastery template, right? So here, that is actually that is like handling the entire flow and chunking the messages to multiple to the multiple responses. But the reason why we have not used voice flow was because, as I already said, this client is pretty tech savvy and they already started to use n8n for their internal workflows. And funny enough, they already have a team that they reached out to. So I found the client like myself through the cold outreach, but they contacted some guys on Upwork that are building them internal n8n automations, but they were not satisfied with the prototype that they built for them in terms of the actual like communication agent and not on the workflow side. So it was the right time because they were like also looking to build this thing up, but they were looking specifically for n8n. I was like at the very first call, I was kind of saying, hey guys, I think you should go with the voice flow just because it's a bit more, flexible and straightforward when it comes to, text-based agent. But they said, no, we want it to be done through the n8n. And that's why we actually did it. And because like the actual final version is deployed on their local version of the n8n because they're working with a team that set everything up. Okay, now let's go into the actual agent setup so that you can see how it works. We have the opt-in. You can see that this opt-in message is just the internal chat widget, right, that we can test here. You would connect it, and for the testing purposes, so that we don't need to communicate with this agent through the SMS, so that it's easier. By the way, this template is available for free in the description in my resource hub. So yeah, it's free. You can, go ahead and play around with it. You would need to replace all your API keys if you are using your own HighLevel account. But again, if you don't want to build everything from scratch, you can go into the one prompt, and all the one prompt, members get this by default. So basically, what we're doing here, this is the opt-in. The second stage is the date and time conversion. The thing is that the way HighLevel APIs work, when we are getting the available slots here, we need to provide the date in Unix format, right? So the date that we are using, again, sorry, like I might blur some information out, the start date and end date should be in Unix. And the like conversion between the simple, and straightforward date that on either ISO format or the free format that the user provides, like LLM cannot really handle it properly. That's why we are using the actual extraction, information extraction. So we are extracting the start and end date from the user input as well as from the user chat history, and then we're setting the start date using the format date function within the n8n, and we're saying, okay, so this is the start date that was captured, and then format it in the Unix MS timestamp. You don't need to worry about that. It's basically working, but this is kind of the thing that we need to deal with because of the way like high-level APIs work. Then once we converted the actual, start and end date, and by the way, yes, if you might say, hey Eugene, but does it like process all the utterances every time to just get the start and end date? Yes, because the main goal of the agent is still to book an appointment. So right now, like on the stats that we're starting to receive, 80% of the queries are related to appointments and schedules, and 20% are related to the customer support and the information that can be found through the knowledge base. So it is not a problem for us. Then we have the engagement agent, and this is the main prompt where everything is happening. This is where we are providing the information on what tools to run and when to run them. Okay, so the tools are the actual like brain, you can call it like the brain of this agent, just because this is where like the magic on the booking side is happening. As we already said, we have the high level, right? So the one prompt is our version, and here you have all the capabilities to book, schedule, reschedule, or update appointments. Basically what you would do in the settings, you would connect your calendar here, right? So you get to do my profile, you'd connect your calendar. So now basically like your calendar, right? So now your calendar is tied to, so this is another user, you connect it here. So your calendar within the high level is tied directly to the high level calendar, right? So you would actually go to the calendar setting, you'd create a new calendar, and you're good to go. And we are doing that because the way we structured the work with the client was through the one prompt. So we created them a separate sub account. You can see it's here. I'm not going to open it, but basically they have a separate sub account. Within this sub account, they have all the connections set up, and we gave them the direct access because we're also doing the human handoff, and their support team needs to be able to go through all the conversations. So basically, they were using the actual Outlook calendar before that, just the pure one, and they connected inside like it to their own like CRM system, which is custom built. It's like a whole nother story. The idea is that it's all comes down to the high level, right? So all the connections are done here. That's why all this, besides the first one, all these tools are connecting directly to the high level, to one prompt. So you can see that we have a get time zone, and the get time zone, this is the public API to convert the time zone that the user provided into the actual readable time zone that we need for the API call, right? So this is the public API. You don't even need any keys here. So for example, when the user says that he's in the New York, he's in the LA, or he's in Minsk, it will do the processing through this function. Then, if you remember, it was asking us to provide the identifier, because before running the actual booking, function, right? So this, we are specifying within the engagement agent that here we need to get the user information. So it's book agent, so prerequisites must have existing user or create a new one, and also need to have a time zone, because the time zone is very important for the booking purposes. So it's getting the contact, right? Let's say if the contact doesn't exist, we are creating the contact. Again, I don't want to open these functions just to not leak any API keys, but you can, download the same scenario for free. There will be no like there won't be like any API keys, so you can just connect yours. So we're creating the contact, And then once the contact is created, we are getting the available slots. And getting the available slots, this is the most confusing function because we're using the Unix format. So let's say this slot is available, then we're doing the booking, right? So the booking is using ISO format, I believe. So the only Unix format that we're dealing with is through the get available slots. And then all other functions are used just for like making like updating appointments, canceling them, or anything, because like technically we can say here and it can say, hey, can you reschedule my appointment, please? And then it will ask us for the time and it will do the reschedule. It's pretty simple to do when you are using the HighLevel APIs, just because it has much more flexibility for the no coders and for the faster setup compared to the direct APIs with Google or Microsoft. Okay, now so this is everything regarding the actual functions. We are using the just straightforward like ChatGPT LM. We are using the memory with the Supabase Postgres, right? So we set up the Supabase knowledge base, right? That we're referencing. As you can see here, we have 4 different tables with different type of the information to access through the service information, product information, and as well as the company information. So these are the separate knowledge bases that we're retrieving the information from. And again, so this is not like a separate video where you can set it up. If you want me to create one, let me know, but you can easily find the information for free. So basically we are connecting the knowledge base here. So this is the vector store. So we have the Supabase RAG. So we are retrieving the information from the documents in this specific scenario, because as I said, what we're doing in the actual final build, we have multiple agents talking to each other, and before we have the intent classification agent. So if the query is regarding the actual product details, we're sending it to another agent that has a separate knowledge base context. And this is just for the updating and putting the information back to the knowledge base, but this is still it's still not, this is not the full one, because you would need to actually it doesn't have the delete functionality or update functionality. So you would, like, for example, go here, you would delete all the rows manually, and then you would upload it through the Google Drive. Okay, so let's now go into the actual one prompt setup so that you can see how the connection between the SMS live chat and email works with this specific n8n agent. As I said, what we're doing here, we are triggering this scenario through the webhook. So within the one prompt, we have already like automations built in. Again, so if you actually if you get the license, you will have it built in, but you can go to HighLevel and build it yourself if you want. So I'll show you how. Go to the omnichannel, the latest version, if the text, n8n. Let me open these 2 main scenarios and show you how everything is built in. So the first step is the trigger. So we have 2 main triggers. So we have the live chat trigger and the SMS. Because the email is handled a bit differently, there is no way to trigger. There is a way, but it's not the most robust way to trigger this flow when the email is received. What we're doing, we have a separate n8n automation that is triggering that is triggered when the email is received, and then we're triggering the actual agent workflow, because, like, for example, here we have the email sequence, which is separate, right? It doesn't have for some reason. Okay, let me check it here. Probably in the version 1.4 Omni agent email. But again, so I'm not gonna cover it right now. If you want, I'll go into the actual full setup build. So basically, we are having the trigger, right? And once we are sending this SMS, right? This SMS, this workflow is getting triggered, and you can see the enrollment history here, right? So for example, that was the first one, this was the second one. Every time the user sends a new message, right, this workflow is getting triggered. And this is kind of the main thing for you to understand, is that because we are processing multiple inquiries, right? So because we like users usually speak with multiple messages and not just one message in, one message back. They usually send one message, one message, one message, one message, 1, 2, 3, or 4 or more. This is just how we speak. We need to trigger this scenario every time this message is getting received. And what we are doing, basically, we are first removing this specific client from this scenario, right? Again, I'll explain what it means later, but we have custom fields. So each custom field represents a message that the user sends, okay? So if we go into the contact here, okay, let's open this contact app. He will have a custom field. So you can, let's say, create a custom field 1, custom field 2, and custom field 3, okay? When the first message is received, our goal is to assign this message to this custom field, okay? So if we go here, if we scroll to the Omni agent, so as you can see, we have DM1, DM2, DM3, DM4. So DM1 is this. So I said like, hey, can you reschedule my appointment, right? And by the way, we didn't see it. No, we didn't see it here because it was not updated for some reason, but you can see it on the backend. Okay, so this message was assigned here. When the user is sent another message, it's getting assigned to another custom field. And the way we're doing that is through the if-else function. So basically, if the first message is triggered, we're saying, okay, is the DM1 is empty? If yes, we're saving the entire user message body into the actual DM1 custom field. So then let's say the user sends a message again, and we're saying, okay, so DM1 is empty. No, it's full. Then, okay, DM2 exists. Yes, no, no. So we are like assigning the same message to the DM2. So this way, based on the amount of messages that we're getting, we're assigning the messages to different custom fields, okay? And after each step is done, we are sending the user into another workflow, okay? So this workflow doesn't have any trigger because it's triggered from this specific scenario. When we are sending the user here, we are waiting for 0.2 minutes. You can specify like 1 minute or 5 minutes. Basically, this is the time that the system waits to gather all the messages, okay? And then it will like group them together into one master message and send it into the actual n8n. So basically, this is the time for how long you want to wait until the user to send all the messages, as well as for how long you want to wait until sending the reply, because there are no other wait modules, because like after this module is done, within the next 5 to 10 seconds, it will generate the reply in n8n and send it to the user. Anyways, so now let's say this is like 1 minute, just for the sake of this example. When we are waiting for 1 minute, it means that for 1 minute, we're not going anywhere. We are just, running this scenario. So when each message is received, it's triggering the same scenario, and we're assigning the messages into different custom fields, okay? So once this timer is done, we're checking the opportunity, and then we are grouping all these DMs. So we are grouping DM1, DM2, and DM3 into one, what we call master message. And once this master message is grouped, and the master message, by the way, is also a custom field that you can see here, okay? So basically, the master message is the combination of different DMs, and then we are sending this master message to the n8n through the API call, right? So we're just making an API call to n8n. This is the webhook with the content. We're passing some variables, and we're also using the payload, and we're also sending the user ID and the user phone number. So this payload is basically the contact master message. So the message that was, that was created here. So all the replies that the user sent group together, and send to n8n. Okay, so now inside n8n we are getting like this. If we check one of the scenarios here, okay, we check. So this is the webhook. So as you can see here, this is the payload. So this is the master message, and we are using this payload to generate the response, right? So here we are actually providing it as the user utterance. Now we are also passing, as you can see, the user ID of the user inside one prompt HighLevel. So basically, because we have, like, we are using the Postgres as the memory, here you can see that the key is the user ID. So basically, we are saving the unique user memory using the key in Supabase, right, memory table, that equals the user ID within the one prompt. Okay? That's why if the same user sends us, so let's say this user will have email and phone number. If this user right now will send us an email, it will trigger another workflow. Okay? But, and then like it's gonna send basically, it's gonna start this, this scenario, right? It's gonna send this scenario. But in the Postgres memory, because the user ID is the same, it's like the same user, right? It's gonna get the information, like the history of the conversation from the Supabase, and a reply based on the context that we already have with this conversation through another channel. Okay, hope it's not confusing. And then basically what we're getting in the response is multiple messages, because if you see here, the agent responds with multiple messages. It's not just one bulk of text. It's like multiple messages, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the way we do that is through the, through this split reply JSON agent. This agent generates the reply, which is, just a chunk of text. Okay, so if we, for example, come here, we'll see that this is the output. Great news, Julia. So this is like an actual output. And in 99% of the cases, you just display it to the user. But it doesn't really feel human, because this would be like the huge chunk of text. What we're doing, we're splitting it up into multiple messages. So we're having another agent that is designed to actually split the message and like analyze the message that was generated from the previous node, from the engage with the user, and split it into multiple messages using the JSON, and output the JSON format. So now we have message 1, message 2, message 3, and this is the output that we're receiving from this agent, because we're saying that please output in the JSON. We also, of course, like specify the actual format here. So now we generated the message, and we split this message into multiple messages that are structured in the JSON format. And then we're just responding, like we're sending this back to the webhook using this specific format. And here we're just, because it is saved, so here we're saying, okay, is the response 1 is this, response 2 is this, the response 5 is this. So if it's like, for example, 2 responses, or let's say here it's only 3, the response 4 and 5 will be empty. And then we're saying, okay, is the response 1 exist? Yeah, sure. So then you can send an SMS with this custom field, because this is the custom field. Sorry. This is the custom field. So we're saving the message 1 into the response 1 custom field, and we're displaying it to the user. And the same thing happens with the response 2 here, and with the response 4 and 5. You can see that we have an SMS, both SMS and live chat here, because we have 2 triggers here, like trigger live chat and the SMS. We also have 2 messages here. They are, by the way, sending the same thing. So if the user send us a message using the live chat, this is going to be processed, and it's gonna skip this because we don't have any SMS communication, and it's just gonna send us the message through the live chat the same way it did before that. Okay, so this is pretty much it in terms of the chunking, and then we're doing the follow-ups, and you can do whatever you want. So all the connections are done within the HighLevel. This is how you set everything up. If you want to have the actual system again built in and the actual overview, 200 likes, and I will do that next week. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.